questions that we received. Basically, a lot of it has to do with leadership and education. And considering the fact that these are all leadership winners who did a lot for not only with their communities, but also their communities within the educational institution, I thought the conversation that we could have could be based on sort of our expectations of what current education is today. So, especially with, well, how about, just because I only met a few of you guys so far, a quick round of introductions, and for anyone who just came in, that way we can sort of get to know everyone. So, I'm Henry. I'm going to be moderating this panel. I'm the 2011 gold winner for the Chinese Canadian Youth Achievement Awards in Community and Leadership. I run the Toronto Youth Shorts Film Festival, and when I was in school at U of T Scarborough, I studied drama and English, so I was an art student, very different from many people. And basically, I got involved in a lot of activities based with like academic advising and acting as liaisons to various departmental issues between students and the faculty. So this is sort of like where my background comes from.
My background, I was a 2009 CCCYC Youth of the Year Award winner.
Was it 2009? I think it's 2010, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Just saying. Just saying.
Wow, well, I guess my years are off. 2010, sorry, 2010 Youth of the Year Award winner. Was it 2009?
Was it 2009?
Henry, which year are you?
I'm in 2011.
So we were the year right before him, right?
Our award ceremony is 2010. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, award ceremony is in the year after that. The name of the award.
Oh wow! You bring it down wrong the entire time. That's embarrassing. Okay, go. Sorry.
Yeah, so I won that. Other than that, I'm just an engineering student. That's my background. So science, technology, STEM stuff I can answer to. I don't really have anything else behind my name that gives me authority to be up here. So I'll just be a student here with an opinion.
He's being modest. He's pretty good.
Anyway, I'm Susie. I'm currently a Queen's Commerce student. I just finished my second year, entering my third year, and studying in Paris in the fall, which will be super, super exciting. I'm a social entrepreneur, so I founded Science Expo, which is a student-run nonprofit that promotes STEM opportunities to high school students. Back in grade 12, I've also founded another thing called Back to Business, also back in grade 12, been very extensively involved in definitely high school, was a co-venture officer competing at internationals, and also very extensively involved in science, doing science fairs both nationally and internationally. So I do a lot of this business and science stuff, now coming to be a social entrepreneur, and in 2009, Community Leadership Award Silver winner.
She's also one of the fastest talking people you know.
It's true.
My name is Laura. I'm 23 years old. I'm a physics researcher, and I build lasers for CERN. So you might have heard about CERN from Angels and Demons, or you know, I work on antimatter. So building lasers to shoot them at antimatter. What we're gonna find? Probably a bit of nothing, but you know, it's pretty exciting anyway. I was the
antimatter and magnetic fields and put them underneath the Vatican.
What? Oh, we should do that. That's a good idea. No, we don't actually do that at all. I wish we did. But I was the 2009 gold winner. I guess there's a bunch of us from 2009 here. I also do a lot of social entrepreneurial work. I founded my very own nonprofit organization called Overbounds. That was based on work I've done volunteering in Asia and Africa, which I still do on the side. And yeah, I've lately been doing a lot of random things, random projects, worked with Discovery Channel. You'll see me on TV in January 2013 on Discovery, and I currently hold the title of Canada's second smartest person, according to CBC. According to CBC. Sorry, okay, go on. I hate talking about this.
My name is Gorrick. I'm a second year student at Harvard. I was in, I think I was 2008, 2009, Gold Award winner.
No, he's the year before.
Really?
Yeah.
So, 2007.
How do I know all this stuff about you guys?
So I was one of the award winners as well for community service. In high school, I was involved in student council. I was president of Mark Arnault Collegiate, which is up near Don Mills. And I was also a student trustee of the Toronto District School Board, as well as president of the Ontario Student Trustees Association. And right now I'm at Harvard studying government, involved in lots of student-run activities on campus, mostly related to business. So I'm working with Harvard Student Agencies, which is the world's biggest student-run corporation. So I actually run a dry cleaning business, a student-run dry cleaning business. And on the side, I'm also working on a nonprofit called the Student Voice Initiative, which I was talking about earlier.
Thanks, Gorrick. I'm Gerald Mack. I'm currently in my 4th year in commerce at the Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson. This summer, I'm planning a $90,000 conference, technology conference at my university. And during the summer, I'm also working at the university with our business services department, which generates over $5 million in revenue for the university. And it's a very busy summer, so it's fantastic to meet a lot of you. I'm a little back in 2000, so I got the gold award in 2007. So I don't see any of the old 7 people here, but I don't feel old. But but anywho, take it away, Henry.
Everyone here got their awards when they were like in high school or something.
Not me. I was quite late.
And you could tell I'm the art student amongst all of these guys based on the way they dress. Had I known, I totally would have come differently.
This is way too formal for an engineer.
I'm dressed like a business student.
Cool. So why don't we use the 3 C's that are this conference is based on to sort of drive our conversation. So the first is create. Let's talk about what the current educational system in both America and in Canada, since we have some folks from the States here, what kind of environment the educational system creates for young people going into it nowadays. It is in my opinion that education, or the idea of education, has been skewed, or it's gone a lot off track from what the original intention is. I mean, I think at its very core, education is supposed to be about bettering yourself. Suddenly, this qualitative sort of measure has become quantitative. Suddenly it's become, oh, what kind of a program will make you the most money in the future? And it's definitely changed the scope of what education means for a lot of people. And not to mention the fact that enrollment policies and enrollment procedures are a lot different than what they used to be. Even when I was in school compared to now, enrollment procedures are drastically different. I'm no authority on what it means to how to get into a good university. So I just wanted to hear from you guys, what do you think is the environment that these schools are creating? And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or can we change a few things up? Are there concerns that you have based on that?
I think all of us have something to say about this. I've talked to Susie about this a lot, actually. My concerns is how focused we've become on grades. It really, really aggravates me, even though I think it's really, really funny, though, coming from a girl who, I got the 97 average or whatever in high school. But it's funny because I started realizing how I didn't care, in a way, because I got these 97s, but it didn't make me any happier at the end of the day. And so in university, I reached a point where I stopped caring, and I said, I want to go out, I want to meet people, I want to do things, I want real life experiences, I want to experience life, and I don't think that I should be so concerned about seeing numbers on pieces of paper. And that has become really, really concerning to me because we fixate so much of our lives on grades and numbers when it really shouldn't be our primary concern.
This is a good point for me to push for Waterloo University with their co-op program, which is particularly the reason why I went there. So this is one of the strong points, I think, at least with my education, my university, why I understand and I appreciate it a lot more is because with the co-op system, you were able to actually get real work experience and get paid doing it. You were able to get real life work experience to balance those grades. Because honestly speaking, if I relied on grades, I would not be in university now. I would have failed out years ago. I'm not a good academic student, 100%. I'm not that great.
You don't need a co-op program to get experience.
Oh, that's true. No, you don't. But
I went to U of T. I never had co-op. I created my own co-op program. I said, screw you. I'm going to create my own program. You guys do your own thing. I'm going to go out and get my own jobs. And so it's a lot about constructing a life of your own choosing. We think that like, oh, okay, I have this program, so you restrict yourself to this program. I think that that's a big mistake. I think that a lot of times there's so many options available that people don't consider, and they don't realize that like, hey, I can take a semester off. I can create my own co-op program. I can do my own thing. That's part of why it took so long to do undergrad. But I created my own co-op program, and I got a lot of interesting life experience along the way.
To counter that though, I think there is a bit of a pressure that I sometimes see within other co-op students or other university students. It's just the idea of, like you've been saying, you're regimentalized. It's not like education is education for education's sake. It is a path to an end goal of employment, of careers. What the industry demands, what government demands, whatever people are hiring you for, which is your career, which is how you define a lot of so much your life's work, it's dependent extremely upon grades or what school you went to, and people feel that pressure that they want to get out of this schooling system, they need to get this done in order to get that job, and that's why they're so restricted into pick engineering or pick science or pick psychology and stick with that and only get a job in that position.
I think the kind of difference we're striking here is between academic learning and outside the classroom. And I think I was lucky enough to have sort of gotten that realization earlier on in high school, where I realized that the stuff that I was learning in class kind of was a checkbox, and it was a single checkbox. But I was finding what I was doing outside the classroom just so much more fruitful. I found my extracurricular activities to teach me so much more about how life actually worked, rather than reading it off a page. So I think a lot of this, if we're looking at the root cause, I think it's really about how our education is structured. I mean, in terms of the way that's structured here in Ontario, we have 40 hours of community service, which is great in my opinion. But I think the way it's structured is, it's once again a requirement, it's once again a checkbox. And what we're seeing is a lot of students seeing it as a checkbox, and as a result of that, just going to the easiest volunteer opportunity they can see. In my case, I was a volunteer at the Toronto East General Hospital, and I chose to volunteer at the emergency department just because I wanted to see how things actually work behind the scenes. But I had a lot of friends, for example, who ended up just working at the information desk because they saw that as the easiest thing that they could do. They could do their math homework, they could watch TV, they could text their friends, and yes, it's a requirement, yes, it has good intentions, but it's not accomplishing the things we want. And I think a lot of us, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of us have realized, especially in university, that there's a lot of opportunities out there that you just simply do not get by cramming yourself in your dorm room studying all day.
And I also find that a lot of, like I graduated from Earl Haig Secondary, and I find that a lot of the parents that were there at Earl Haig who came from different backgrounds were always forcing their kids to get that great mark. Forget about some of these extracurriculars, get that mark, apply it to 13 different choices of the universities, and I was like, holy crap. What happened to enjoying your life? What happened to choosing the program that you thought was best for you? I found that a lot of parents, depending on what community and what cultural background that you're from, it really pushed for certain students to apply for particular universities. And I think that was the biggest challenge for a lot of different cultures, especially for young Canadians that were growing up in Canada, was, do I follow the values of my parents that want me to get that degree at that very prestigious university, or do I want to do what I love? Which one do I want to please more? And I think at that point, what I'm trying to bring here is I find that sometimes we offset what we really want and we go with what our cultural values, or our parents' cultural values. And when you were talking about all that, about the Asianness and all that, I thought it really touched on some of that stuff.
Let me just talk to you about the business school culture. Maybe Gerald can relate to this, but I think business schools in general have this very own unique culture. It's very different than other programs. The Queen's Commerce culture, let me give you the Queen's Commerce spiel. Get into the program, the first year, get good marks, get project rep. Second year, get good marks, get into prestigious committees. Third year, go to all recruiting sessions, suck up to recruiters, hand in your resume. Fourth year, go to recruiting sessions, get yourself a job, get an internship. Go to first year, become a junior analyst, become a senior analyst, become a partner, your life is over.
That sounds exciting.
That's basically as soon as you get to business school, that's what they teach you every single day, every single class. Every single class I've had so far in business school is learning how to make profit. And every single class we do, there's dollar signs involved. And never, every day, which is teaching you how to get a job, And how do you suck up to recruiters? How do you get an internship? How do you talk to people?
Which banks you want to work at, and where the opportunities are, and such like that.
Which accounting certificate you're going to go
Oh, yeah.
for.
Oh, exactly. Which, you know, the big 4 firms, you know, the big 5 firms, you know, which one you go to, and it's a lot of politics in business school. So especially being in the Queen Commerce bubble culture, it's very hard to get outside of that. And entrepreneurship is not a path. You either be a marketing, accounting, finance, or a consulting, and that's about it. And if you're not getting any of those, your school won't help you get a job. You're on your own. So in business school culture, it's your life, here's your life, have fun.
Well, I think
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that just to kind of do the schools themselves a little justice, I think education in general has become very much a numbers game, whether it's numbers on the individual level in terms of your grades, but I think especially in terms of rankings. I mean, in terms of universities, we're always competing with one another to have the most job placements, for example, at certain firms, to have the most people be successful in their internships. So this kind of pressure cooker that I think a lot of schools have created for themselves is as a result of trying to beat out other schools. And I can't say that's a good thing, but of course the incentives there are very.
If we look at like Richard Ivy, the Ivy League school, it's like, look how successful our career center is getting those students that job. And then the culture is quickly, let's get those great marks just to get that job. We tend to forget about all the other factors.
It's really funny though, because when education first started, it's not about, oh, I'm going to school in order to get a job. In fact, when the idea of a university was first established, most people who go to universities end up being the poorest people on the planet because they end up spending so much money and so much of their time just reading books, and then they don't do anything. Like at one point in this entire history of the world, scholars were considered sort of the lowliest of people in society, so to speak. And I think it was the business school that sort of changed all of that around. Somehow the idea of, oh, we can cultivate skills and you can use that towards employment. Somehow, like, the idea of education just changed altogether. Speaking of cultivating, which is the second C from the 3 C's, and we're going to talk about some of the things like the numbers game and so forth. It's just like, I just find that like, it's true. I mean, like, it is all about a numbers game, and like, I have tons and tons of friends who went through the exact same thing that Susie was saying, like, oh, by the time third year hits, that second week of September, you're not going to see me for like a whole month, because I'm just going to be like schmoozing at all these like, these recruiting sessions and whatnot. And it's crazy to think like, and just to sort of jump on a few points that you guys were saying too, about how they're marketing this educational system as a way for you to get an end goal. It's like, oh, here's a check mark you definitely need to have in order to get to where you want. So what is it about at the end of the day, schools nowadays, whether it be colleges or universities, it's all about making money for them. It's like, regardless of whether they're a private school or not, at the end of the day, it's still a for-profit operation. And therefore, when you put that into the equation, everything just switches around, and suddenly the idea of us bettering ourselves is no longer